Welcome to Advancing Consciousness series. My name is Franco De Nicola. For the people that do not know me, I've been involved in this series and assisting you guys to go through all the different changes that are taking place at this time. So today we're looking at the new you playing in the new world, which is episode 11. So with everything that's been going on the last little while, there has been more of an urgency within ourselves to kind of experience moving from our current state of life going into a new current state of life. As I've talked about in other workshops, and I've also talked about it in the series, we are on completely new platforms. So right now we are playing on either an organic 3D platform or an organic 5D platform. Now, as much as I said that we are on these new platforms, we are still the ones that need to go into those platforms and experience ourselves in those states, and also to be able to really harness and reshape the platforms, or what we call worlds. They're parallel worlds in each other, and they're basically there to host us on where we're at. Of course, as I said, we are moving away from the 2D inverted, 3D inverted matrix, which we've already done from the platform's perspective, the frequency of the planet's perspective, the beautiful energies coming in from the sun and all of our surrounding planets and surrounding solar systems within the galaxy. So all of that has already moved. The only thing that's left is us moving into it. And what keeps us in place is basically the old programs that we're still dealing with, the old versions of ourselves. So today we decided to go and play with this whole new you coming into playing in the new world. So as much as we are on the new world, we are still the ones that are going to redesign our experience. And right now, with everything that's going on, the intensities, the confusion, and all that stuff that's playing out at this point in time, it's really not to take us down by any means. It could look that way, but it's only taking down the old versions of ourselves, really allowing our new versions of ourselves to emerge. So this is a beautiful co-created orchestration that we've all chosen to play with. And we've all stepped into it to utilize it in the way that best serves us at this time. So here we are. We're on this beautiful opportunity right now. Many of us have to become isolated in some way, or basically notice that we're not doing all the things we were doing, and we're spending more time either with ourselves, with family, or whatever. But the key here is to see how much time we're actually spending with quality aspects of yourself and other aspects of others around you, or how much time and energy we're putting into the fear and whatever is being projected from the media. The media is a very powerful influencer, but it's actually very beautiful, the dance, because they're promoting the old world. They're promoting the 2D inverted, 3D inverted matrix so that we get the maximum amount of saturation, and then decide to step away from that and give no power to it. Because the moment we stop giving power to it, we notice that it's not playing around us, because then it's just a canvas around us that's moving along, but we're not getting lost or engaged in any of it to the degree where we're losing perspective of what we're here to do at this time, and play with that aspect of ourselves coming through. So the thing right now, we're looking at it. Are we ready to finally embrace our current human experience, what we are dealing with? The thing is, we have to understand we're in this current human experience. That human experience was created, very much so, in the 2D and inverted 3D, in the inverted matrix. Inverted matrix. I spelled this completely incorrectly. Well, let's take that out. I'm getting too excited here. Inverted. All right. So it's very much so in this here, what we're looking at, the 2D, inverted 3D, and inverted matrix. So we have to appreciate what we are experiencing right now. we need to go, okay, there's nothing wrong with this playground, nothing wrong with any parts of the experience, because as long as we judge it, as long as we put power in polarizing it and saying this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong about it, then it actually slows down the process of moving it through. So we need to embrace life for where it is, the whole human experience, and also to look at our current experience, our personal experience, because yes, the playground was very much inverted, 2D inverted 3D, an inverted matrix. I'll better write the rest of this matrix, but very much so all our operating systems and everything that we follow through our experience of life, the stories and everything else are still in that. And that's what we're doing. We're processing through all of that so that we actually move forward in a bigger way. So here we are, by embracing the current experience with no judgment and with appreciation and love for the journey has provided, we are able to much more easily transcend into a more authentic design. And that authentic design is actually going back to our true blueprint, true design as the being that we are, of multi-dimensional aspects of ourselves, in a human body that has been designed very specifically to really flourish in a way that we've never really experienced up to this point in time, which we are now giving ourselves the opportunity. Now, we did have an opportunity for a 5,000 year period to experience that, but right now in the last 10,000 years, we have lived through all of this part, and now we're doing the transitional part. So it's really now our opportunity to step into our life and really go in playing in the new playground that we've established within ourselves, the new platforms. So we have the option and the freedom to do that. And right now, with everything going on, it's assisting us. Yes, for many of us, it's bringing up fear, concerns, and also bringing up anything from the past that's coming up to the surface. Stuff that's being projected in the future is coming up for us in a sense where we feel that there's chaos. But you know, the beautiful part about the whole idea of the chaos itself only resides within the ego mind, because the ego mind is maintaining us in this, and the tools provided in the sense of what we are experiencing right now, what looks like a lot of chaos, is really reinforcing this. But to keep us paralyzed, the ego itself, very much so, which is designed to do all of this, is creating more internal conflict in a sense. Now, what we're talking about is mind concepts, so the fears and everything else. And it likes to use emotions and whatever else to stir up that so that we feel it. But then we have the other part of ourselves, the other parts that are very much more grounded and are already tuning itself up to be able to play the true design of the human experience, and also the true design of the souls that have come in the physicality that you are operating through, to really express in ways that it has never expected or expressed before. So collectively and individually, we're going through some amazing shifts and upgrades. And so anytime there's a shifting and upgrade, the ego mind will react. It has the tendency to do so because it feels that if it reacts and panics and starts to create polarization and rights and wrongs, goods and bad, safe and unsafe, then it can actually slow down the process. So our job is to look at all of that and see how that is playing out, so that we could actually acknowledge, oh, that's what I'm experiencing. Do I choose to still empower this part, or do I choose to move through it? Because the choice is yours. And the choice, like I've showed before, the choice is coming from several levels. You know, the choice, you know, as much as we look at it, we say, okay, what's the choice from? Well, definitely it's not the ego part, because the ego wants one part, but we had the choice that's coming through the soul, the human entity, which both very much so want to move forward in a big way, human entity and the body, because all of this wants to evolve. All of it wants to go into that very natural design, the pure design that it was put together in the first place. So it's saying, okay, are we going to do this? We're going to move forward because we're ready. We're ready now to work as a team to move forward. Okay? So we are now, because of this team working together much more powerful, we are feeling that strong call within ourselves to say, okay, we're embracing and seeing what we have to play with today. And every day, moment by moment, we're going to look at this and we're going to decide how we want to navigate. And if I'm going to go one way or the other temporarily, in the sense of saying, oh, I'm in fear right now, and then come to a point of clarity, you allow that to take place. But at the same time, you notice that the difference of how one feels over the other, and how energetically one is energizing and one is less energizing, or vice versa. So you will notice that, and that will be part of it. Because right now, we're going through a process of learning how to play the game of life in a completely different way. And when I say different way, I say that because the fact that we've now adopted, for all these years that we've been on the planet, the game that we've been playing, feeling that that is our true game. That's how the game of life is played. None of us has come here to only play the existing game. All of us came here to, yes, experience that, yes, to really immerse itself in it, go through the whole experience of whatever polarities and energies that would involve in the dance, realizing the playground is like it is, but at the same time also wanting to come in at, especially if you're here now on this planet, it knew that this was coming through. So it really wanted to be part of it and to jump in it in a way that it's never been able to do so in human form, because any reincarnation or incarnations that it had in the past, it was never in a position that we are in right now, where things are moving very energetically and powerfully. Now, the thing is, we have to understand that the movement that we're making is instigated, activated, and stimulated and assisted by so many aspects of ourselves. So the first part is all of us at one level or another, from this soul, human entity, and body part, is body component of it, is assisting each other to be able to move through the operating system of the 2D inverted, 3D inverted matrix that the ego's been supporting up to this point in time. So, and then energetically, we are receiving a lot of support. So like I've said before, Gaia is supporting us. The beautiful energies that are coming in from our sun, from our galactic central suns, and all the energies that are being streamed because of the positioning of the planet and the galaxy and so forth, and how we move, and we're being bombarded with this, and plus we're being assisted by our brother sister souls. So we're not doing this alone. We're doing it as a team on Team Human, but we also have other aspects of our teams coming in. So this is the way we can really move in a way that we've never did before. Because many of us are realizing, and have been realizing for quite some time, that what we've been doing up to this time really is not, how can I say, it doesn't apply any longer. It didn't feel in resonance any longer. However, we chose to ignore it over and over again. For many of us, others have taken action around it, ignoring the calling, the feeling, the energetic aspect of ourselves, saying, okay, it's time to change, time to shift. We're not going to hold on to any of this. But we've been feeling that, and we've been ignoring it because everything's kind of in our playground has been status quo sort of thing, and we keep getting reinforced by all of these egos and whatever else that, that's the way of life, right? But many of us haven't been feeling that. So the call was always to step out of our comfort zone, and that comes scary because the ego loves that program, coming out of the comfort zone, because in doing so, it creates this powerful thing called fear. And fear is really a powerful stimulant. Fear can do lots of things for us. It can move us, it can shape us, it can actually paralyze us too at times, but fear is a powerful tool. Now, we can look at the fear And when you look at fear from a soul perspective and even a human perspective, and in many cases from the body, it's exhilarating. So the fear is like, wow, this is cool. Let's experience this. Because as much as the fear comes in, and sometimes we have old memories tied into our body, and we feel that tightness within ourselves, realistically, it's just an emotional response that is the ego is generating while using fear. So really, fear is a stimulant for change. Fear is and all of that part, but we don't need that because we have that strong pull within ourselves to say, I'm going to embrace the fear, because many of us have experienced fear in our lives. And when we look at the fear, it's really mind constructed, because in essence, it's all in the way we perceive things, and it was all perceived from an old construct and things that we've adopted and utilized from the lineage and from other experiences from a collective perspective. Because as a child, they don't even experience fear, because at that point in time, they're just curious. They want to play, want to touch, do whatever, you know. So I'm not saying that you're going to go into that particular state where you're not going to be knowing what works and doesn't work, but you're basically now taking the thing and choosing, fear, I'm not going to use it to paralyze me. I'm going to see how I can experience that part of it in a much more exciting way than I have done before. And so by doing so, it really gets us to move forward, because once we walk through this and smile and appreciate it and love it, we lose part of the power that the ego likes to use, because the fear no longer will play the same paralyzing state, which is, again, it is programmed paralyzation. It's not natural. Even the fear is an illusionary construct that is created, because fear likes to project into the future, utilizing any resources that have seen before, because fear can go into anxiety, which is the next step, right? So in fact, what it's doing is just creating a picture of the future based on anything that it's experienced in the past and anything that it's seen for others playing before, or even what you've seen in movies and whatever else. So this is one of the reasons that, when we get exposed to a lot of media stuff, that it actually helps us program, and the ego loves it, because in essence it has tools to use to reinforce the fear and paralyze you and make your choices and your movement forward limited, because fear does limit us in a big way. So this is kind of what we're doing. We're going to move through all of that. The other thing is that many of us are also seeing that life seems to be much more complicated and much more confusing, which is great, because we get to look at life a little bit more clearly. Because when we're looking at confusion, when we're looking at complications, we realize that somehow, do I still need to play in that same way? Does it really give me that capacity and power to be able to play in that? Because realistically, as we are becoming more in tune to this, complications is something that you start to eliminate, because realistically life is very simple. However, the ego programming, the streaming of the 2D inverted 3D and the inverted matrix said that everything has to be complex, everything has to be difficult, everything has to be confusing, because if we keep you in confusion, we keep you in complication, we keep you all tied up, then you're going to move a lot slower. So this is something else that's coming up for us, just to move through it and simplify, because really the game of life becomes very simple as we purge out a lot of the programs. Even the whole thing of letting go, it is not that complex, except that we have this part that's saying it is complex. So just to understand that and to appreciate that, it makes it a lot easier for us to move forward. And also at the same time, many of us are feeling very powerfully that, our life doesn't fit anymore who we are. It's like, I can't play this game any longer. We get to the point, it's like, as much as that was a blast, it was fun, it was exciting, or whatever it is, and even getting into the state of the polarized part of it, but it just doesn't match, because the part of you that's the soul, the human entity in the body is wanting to evolve and to expand forward, then the game that shows completely different is not going to be of any benefit for you. So that way, it now gets into the position saying, okay, you know, this existing life that I'm living right now, and all the choices I've made, everything that I played, yeah, this is pretty cool. You know, we've had a real blast with this, but it doesn't resonate. It doesn't match me any longer. And as long as we are neutral, then it makes it easier for us to move forward through it without getting caught up into it. So this is what we're doing and gifting ourselves. And the thing is too, with us also moving forward, we are now stepping more and more, letting go of the past and the future. Because the past may have served us and brought us where we are, but the future itself has to be open. It has to be a complete open platform. So when you are connecting to the soul, human entity, and body, that part of you, the grander aspect of yourselves with all those levels of consciousness, it's not going to just continue giving power to the fact of what the future needs to look like. Right now, we're challenged very much. So what's the future going to look like? Because right now, we're somewhat in quarantine. Right now, we are being restricted to be able to move forward and doing certain things like we used to do it. And I've talked about the fact that that's an actual opportunity for us to slow down, stop for a while, and actually connect with ourselves and reflect and look at our lives in a better way. But with all the stuff that's being projected in the media and all of that other stuff, it's really projecting a future that could look pretty dismal. So here you are, this is your present moment, and this is your past, and this is the future. Really, I'm not even going to put a point there because it's just moving in this direction. So you're looking at the future. Present moment is right here. But everything that we're hearing is that anything above this can be pretty massively intense and uncomfortable, chaotic, world-ending, or the fact that, you know, we're going to all perish in one way or another, or go into survival mode or whatever, right? But that's, you know, that's a projection, but we have a choice, how we're going to shape that. And this is why it's key for us to connect with ourselves much more powerfully so that we are not bombarded or not even taking into account everything that's being played out. So the thing is, as much as all of this is served, this has to remain open for us to design each step of the way. And the best part of it being open, we can design it moment by moment. So for this moment, you may be feeling anxiety for whatever's playing out. The next moment, you can choose. You could say, okay, great, let me experience this. And even if it takes 10 moments, I have no problem with that. Let me experience it fully. Then what do I want to create from here? And if I don't want to create any more fear or paralyzation or this dismal future, then the next moment is that I choose to feel comfortable and playful with whatever the experience is. Because the most powerful part is, here we are, we're playing on this playground, this is what I have to play with right now, and I have a choice. Do I go in fear, survival, struggle, or anything of that nature, or do I go in playfulness and see the scape for what it is, and I choose to ground myself to myself so that I can move in a more powerful way? So that's the choice we have. So as much as all of that has served us, we're at a point where each moment from this moment on is completely wide open for us to choose. So what better way than right now for everything that's happening to really see the choices very powerfully and clearly? Because we could say, you know, everything that's being projected is the old world. It's the old version of you that would respond in that negative way, or respond in fear, or respond in anxiety, respond in depression, respond in, you know, feeling yourself trapped and a victim in your own playground. That's what everything is being projected. But you still have the freedom at this point to say, you know, I have the choice to choose to play there or not. And a lot of people will say, well, no, we don't have a choice because everything is dictated to us. Yes, it's true, it's being dictated to you, but you still have the freedom and the choice to say, Do I engage in it or not? What channel am I going to watch? Am I going to watch my new creation, or am I going to watch my old creation, my old version? Because the new you is trying to immerse into it. That new you is very peaceful, playful, light, and sees the opportunity that's there available right now. It's not seeing something coming to an end. For some people, that's going to be the case because they are just basically, I'm going to support something of that nature and I'm going to walk through all of that. But honestly, we have the opportunity to choose it completely. So for us to be able to function and design every step of the way from this moment, you do not use the past as a reference point, and you do not project any part of the future, because this is all needs to be new creation. It is our new design. So as long as we're not putting any part of that and we are in the moment, as long as we're in the moment, we are more powerful to design every part of it. The other thing that's very important for us is to drop. Very key here, drop, because that becomes victim state. Because what is victim state? Is really seeing yourself powerless, seeing that others have power over you, that the system has power over you, that you, in fact, that everything that's around you controls how you feel and experience life, that everything around you creates your next moment, and that you are highly dependent on everything around you to support you. That was all very constructed in the inverted 2D, or in 2D, inverted 3D, inverted matrix through the ego programming, but that is true. The victim state does not actually exist. I know we've been playing it. I know that we've given power to it. I know that you could say, yes, I've been a victim and whatever else. But that is a mental construct. It is something that's been created in all of this, because no one is a victim. You can take on the role of the victim, and somebody else can take the role of the victimizer, but you are the one that chooses, do I play there or not? That choice has always been there. It's never been removed. Now, if a part of you said, I want to experience the victim, that's cool. You experience it, but it's not permanent. You move forward. Right now, it's saying we're dropping the victim state. It's not any longer. Because what else does the victim say? I am powerless. I don't have the power. I don't have the capability to experience my life. That I have, somehow other people have the way to design my life. So even thinking that I have no choice puts you in the victim state. Because when you are connected with yourself, you know that you have a choice. You are designing every part of it. It's not outside of you in any way, shape, or form. It's not. It never has been. And that's the beauty of it. So by realizing that, by moving forward in the sense of saying, I'm not a victim here, I'm going to step into my true essence. My true essence is I am the master creator. As the master creator, I create. That's what you do best. You create realities, you create experiences, you create your reality within yourself and your surroundings and all the playmates involved. Because everything is co-created. Everybody's in your life was part of your creation. And there was no mistake. It doesn't matter what role they play. It was not a mistake. Everything played out exactly how it needed to play out, because that was what was necessary for you at this time. However, that is no longer the case. You now are stepping into the freedom to be that creator. So creator, what it does, it creates. It also creates itself, creates everything around it, and it observes through the creation, learns from the creation, advances through the creation, evolves through the creation, and really does what it came here to do. And many of us that are listening right now at this point in time are very powerful instrumental tools to facilitate this transformation that's taking place. It's not in a sense where you're saying, okay, I have to depend on anything, or that I'm just creating my reality. Some of you know that you have come here to transmute a lot of the old programs and so forth that exist on a collective scale, and you've taken on a whole mess of old collective states and lineage and whatever else, to be able to transmute it so that you're creating new pathways, you're creating new channels of ways of experiencing. So the whole idea of stepping into it and saying, okay, I am creator. I am the creator. Is it O or E?
Creator, ER, I think.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure.
Sometimes I say creator. It goes either way,
I
right?
think so.
Yeah. Well, let's use the O this time.
Okay. That doesn't, I don't think people.
I don't think it makes much of a difference, but
Yes. Oh, yeah.
creator. So we're stepping into creator aspects. Now, a lot of us have taken on the role saying, I want to facilitate that creation. And the facilitating of that creation will expand even further than your own personal creation, your own co-creation, because you're saying, I'm going to facilitate, to create this very powerful, transformative experience so that many more can line up and become reactivated as their creators too, so that we can create a completely different experience on the planet. Because the planet is ready, the platform's there, the energies are there, everything, the tools, every part of it is there. It's just bringing ourselves online to be able to be that powerful creator. Other thing, we need to let go. One of the things is all of our old stories, who we are, what we've done, what we've experienced, whatever's played out in our lives. We have to also let go of the labels that we've put in, the labeling of what those experiences meant, and definitions of ourselves. So, in essence, defining that because of my experience, this is who I am. Many of us get caught up in that whole ordeal or that game or that part of it. And that's great. It's perfect. It's excellent, amazing. You get an award for it. You can get caught up in the idea that my life is because of whatever's happened to me at this point in time. As a creator, you do not give power to that. You drop every aspect of it. It does not become your navigation system. All good?
Yep.
Yeah, navigation system. So it's not an issue in any way, shape, or form, because you don't use it. So basically, you're dropping the definition of who you were before. Really, you know, when we look at the past, you were none of those experiences. You just played roles and you just experienced it. It doesn't mean that's who you were. You took on roles. Who you are is source. Who you are is this powerful, infinite, immortal being of existence. You are all of that has taken on a human holographic projection to come and play here. And that's what it is. So that's who you are. But you've come here to play various roles. And now you're upgrading the roles for a grander aspect of that experience. Now, why would we take on certain roles to elevate and move things forward? Because all of us are interconnected. All of us is from that same field of sourceness. And as source, we're saying, okay, we're done with this segment of experience, instead of just wiping it out because it's so perfect that if we can move through this, the experience and whatever's being gained there is immensely amazing. So we want to use that completely without dropping any part of it. And this is why we're going through this process. And could you imagine the idea that, yeah, we've gone this far and we're going to wipe it all out? Are you kidding me? This is like perfect. This is like the most empowering state, to go from one lost state to an advanced, open, powerful state, to put ourselves back on track. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. And the other thing too, to move forward through that, is dropping all judgment and all what we call comparison. You know, the thing is, the moment we start to judge, we start to already label other people, because we talked about not labeling ourselves and not, defining ourselves or anything of that nature, or attaching ourselves to stories. But it's also letting go of other definements of it, because you allow other people to have whatever experience they need, how they need it, because it's benefiting them, which is another aspect of you. And even if they're moving a little slower, it does not matter. It's all perfect. But the thing is, the moment you stop judging, you stop comparing yourself, because you're going to compare yourself with people less and people more advanced than you or something like that. But that's just an illusion, because they're on their particular path. You say, okay, well, I'm stuck in my little world here, and they moved forward. But the thing is, you're doing it your way, and you're giving yourself the opportunity to do it your way. Because we didn't come here to do the same thing. We didn't come here to experience all the same parts of it. We came here to have different expressions and experiences. And some of us are at different states and saying, well, I'm starting point is here, and I'm going to go through some of these paths right now, where you may have chosen different paths and different starting points, and others have come in with a different starting point moving forward. So everyone is perfect in that. So the whole idea of holding on to any judgment, comparison, or whatever that is, it doesn't serve us, because we're not. And then the other part of it too is, we talk about light, dark, and all of that stuff. Well, we got to embrace all of that, because what is it? I mean, I will cover more of this in the workshop that's coming up. And we have a workshop that's coming up on the 28th of March, which is just 1 week away, which gives you the opportunity to walk through it and do all the processes. And I'm going to cover all of that in more in depth as we go along. But at this point, what we're looking at, saying, okay, embracing this whole light and dark. Well, what is light and dark? Well, you're saying, well, light is great and dark is not great, or that, we have a shadow part of ourselves, and then there is the other part. What is the shadow? What is the darkness? It's just other states of ourselves in different states of consciousness that may have not been as aware and may have played lower vibrational roles. But there's nothing wrong with that. It was just part of that experience at that time. The lighter part, you say, well, I'm light now, or I'm this. Well, that's only a part of you that's actually getting more access of consciousness and experiencing and seeing things very differently. So the purpose of all of this is to bring the light and the dark, as it's labeled. I'm not saying it that's how I call it, but bringing all aspects of yourselves into your present experience. So the unconscious part versus the conscious part, it's basically bringing all of that together, because when you do that, it all becomes even more conscious, because one's experienced one way and one's experienced in that way. So the whole idea that, I played a dark role, yes, you may have played a role that was a little bit more unconscious, but that role was what it needed to be played for you and others that were being played at that time. So it's really embracing all of that, and not, judging any part of yourself, saying, this or that. Did you have a question?
Yes, Valerie has a question. Does that mean we have to decide who we are, body, environment, what we do, and where?
Run that by me again.
Okay, she's asking, does that mean we have to decide who we are, body, environment, what we do, and where? That's the question.
Okay, I think I understand
do you
what's
think so?
being
Okay.
said.
If you want to clarify, Valerie, if you want to write a few more, jot a little more down about to clarify that, go ahead.
Okay, so we have the choice at all times. Each moment we have a choice. And the choice is, do I drop every aspect of the old part of me and I allow my new part to come in, the new emerging aspect of ourselves that has higher consciousness, higher awareness? Do I allow that to come through? So basically, each moment you have the choice. What do I drop off when? What do I do next? What do I drop at any point? That's a choice you make. And it's not only a choice, it's a commitment. It's a commitment that you make, a commitment of saying, I'm going to do this, or I'm not going to go and do this. And the only reason you're doing that, because you're not judging the old experience or anything of nature, you're just finished with the old experience. You're not giving the power to it because it doesn't really resonate or match with you any longer. As much as it may have matched at one point, it doesn't match you now. That's the part of it. So the decision is made along the way each point. Now, of course, we stage things in such a powerful way that you can make a more powerful choice, because you got a space in between time to say, okay, I have been, first of all, accentuating the polarity that doesn't match with me any longer. It's also putting me somewhat on hold, or in some cases, some people are more busier than ever involved in assisting other people. And that's still a beautiful, powerful environment for you to say, okay, I'm going to now pay attention, step back while I'm doing what I'm doing and observe and adjust along the way. So each one of us are being provided, self-provided, and collectively provided the opportunity for us to be able to adjust accordingly.
Okay, Valerie says, who we are, our body, our environment. What is 5D exactly?
Okay, I know we've covered a lot of that.
Yeah, so if you just want to quickly...
Yeah. Okay, so who we are, when we're talking about, where did I have it? I didn't have it there. It's here, okay. So who are we? Okay, yes, we are a physical body that's still part of Source. It's an extension of Gaia, okay? So are we a body? In a way, yes, we are utilizing a body. We are utilizing the channel of Gaia, the frequencies and the what do they call it? I lost the word. But anyways, we are utilizing what is provided for us in a physical body as a representation of Gaia and experiences. So are we that? Yes. In a way, a part of us is a body because it's bringing that as part of our experience. Are we the human entity? Well, that is the part of us that's also part of our experience. And then are we a soul? We are a soul. You know, we have a soul. We have that part of us. Now, each one of these play a very particular role, but it's really, you are all of this. Okay? And then, well, forget the choice part, and then we are basically a mind. So when we're looking at the mind aspect of it, the mind is the part of it that is the overall consciousness that is taking input from all of these parts. So the body, the human entity, the soul, creating one concept, one process of observing and experiencing itself. Now, of course, then we have the ego mind, which is the operating system, and that's what it is. It's an actual operating system within the mind that kind of likes to oversee things and create an illusionary part. So we're moving through all of that. So when we're looking at the experiencing component of that, who are we? We're a beautiful unit. But when we look at the very essence, all of this, because everything exists within Source, we are Source. With Source, we're having here a human experience on a human, what we call a human planet for the time being, and we're playing in that quadrant of the experience of the galaxy within our solar system, and that's what we're here to play. So we decide to say, okay, when the decision comes in, and which we're doing right now, is saying, okay, do I embrace all of this? Or do I live in just a mind, an ego mind program? Because most of us have, but at the same time, all of this was still part of it. I don't know if that's clarified it enough, or do you have...
She says, no, I mean, do we change? Is 5D light body?
Yes, okay. So just to explain that, when we are in 2D and inverted 3D and inverted matrix, the body's very dense. The experience is heavy. The experience is really difficult to move through. So that everything seems so real, so dramatic, so limited, bound, and almost very much so victim, minus creator. And then you are your stories and you are your labels. The other part we have, the two other options, did I write that somewhere? No. Okay, so then we have the organic 3D and the organic 5D. Okay, I better write organic down here. Okay, so the organic 3D and organic 5D. So when we're in organic 3D, which is the original design and the part that we have as part of a platform to experience, then you are now realizing that you are the body, that you have these operating systems, but you realize that you're also a source essence within it. So the body will feel lighter, the operating system is lighter. You're not going to get so caught up in all the heaviness of whatever we've played up to this point. Polarity will not have the same experience as we had before because it doesn't exist. That polarity does not exist once we've moved into the organic 3D. when we're going into organic 5D, which is the next part of it, which is the choice that certain souls will make, and a portion of them already have made, because we've already made the choice to be one and the other, and we're either platforms right now. In the 5D, the body is even lighter. So now the way to experience is that I am source, I am a spiritual being that is having a human experience. Versus the organic 3D saying, I'm a human experience also having a spiritual component or source aspect of it. So there's a difference between the two, a very big difference from this, but a difference between the two of how much focus is with the body. So in 5D, there's less focus on the body, more spiritual component, more metaphysics component of it. And so it becomes a lighter body because there's less focus on the body. Now you're still experiencing the body and so forth, but it's less focus on the sensorial experience and living in a body. You're still living in a body, you're still experiencing, but less focus on it, where the organic 3D has a bit more focus in the physicality. So that's really the difference between the two when we're talking about going from one to the other. I know a lot of people are talking about that, we're going from 3D to 5D, but really that's not what the case has been. What we've been doing, what we've actually are moving through and have moved through when it comes to the planets, is we've been moving from 2D, which is basically fully operated by programs in ego, and you have really nothing more. So I'm sure you've met a lot of people that basically exist, and it's a huge population of that, where their existence is all around the fact that they just exist in a physical body. There's nothing else. Now, they can even be religious and still be very 2D in the sense, because at that point, their only reference point is, right now, I'm in a physical body. This is how I operate. There's nothing outside of that. They don't see another aspect of themselves anywhere. Where inverted 3D, things are, you have a bit of understanding that there's a spiritual component of you, but everything is backwards. So you're basically now looking at that I'm a physical being, that I have to go into a spiritual being, and then really, if you look at the game of life right now, everything's backwards and has been like that for some 10,000 years. So really what we've been moving from is the 2D and inverted 3D. In the inverted matrix, well, again, everything is emphasized as backwards, to what we call organic 3D and organic 5D. And the only reason the organic 3D got plugged in is because a majority of the souls on the planet, with the bodies, of course, and everything else, said that we never really got to experience the organic 3D, and we would like to have an opportunity to do so. So there was a window created when a parallel world was created within the same world, which is basically two different channels. I know this is going to take a while to explain. I'm not going to go through it now because I do have other things that I've explained it much more clearly, or other parts of videos I've done and so forth, and even in the workshops actually. So if you look back at some of the older workshops, it goes into much more details how it looks. So what we're looking at is that we didn't have the opportunity to experience ourselves in a body in its natural operating system, so we would love to have that experience. And then others are saying, well, I didn't come here just for that. I can bypass it and I can go into 5D. But in that does not mean that you're only in one. You can go back and forth. Okay? So one of them is going to be your home base for the time being, and you're just going to move back and forth. But there's only a window. So we have the 3-year window, which we've already started, 3-year window to go out of the 2D inverted 3D inverted matrix operating system, because none of this is really operating, but it's still within our ego operating system, to be able to be fully either in organic 3D or organic 5D, and then you have basically until 2035, which is basically 15 years. So let's put down 15 years. I have to learn how to write in different ways here. 15 years to move, to finish off anything in organic 3D, to go back in, to go into organic 5D. So then we have that opportunity to be able to be fully in 5D, and then you have another 5 years after that to fully integrate all of it, to integrate for what we call fifth dimensional consciousness. So that will be 2040. So these are the opportunities we've provided ourselves. So this is all part and parcel of a collective idea, a collective agreement, a collective request. It was a request. And all of this is, through our efforts and through our choices. Now, where's that choice coming from? Yeah, it's a combination of body, human entity, soul, and saying, okay, what best serves us? We have to understand, and I talked about it many times, that there's not one playground better than the other. Each playground serves us wherever we are. However, there is a certain phase of time that we're provided for so that we can go through all of that stuff. Okay. Was that clarified enough? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
More questions, but do you want to wait?
Let me carry on with it. Okay, because I want to cover whatever we need to cover. Okay. So, the other thing is, whenever we're feeling that, I have to give myself to somebody else to decide. So, for example, if we get caught up in the idea that I have to follow my culture, I have to follow a religion, I have to follow any ideal aspect, family dynamics, or whatever, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, I'm not going to be in the creation mode anymore, or for a period of time, and I'm going to buy into what's already been created, what's been already experienced, and what the culture represents. So, in fact, you're giving yourself your power, like people call it. You're giving yourself to say, okay, you are creating my reality based on what you have. But you have to understand, most of cultures, most of all types of different older realities were all created within the inverted matrix 2D and from the past, because at that time, all of that may have served, and you may have taken it on. But at that point, you have the freedom now to say, am I going to do this or not? Am I going to still be able to say, okay, I'm not choosing to navigate under my own wings and my own choice and my own consciousness. I'm going to use older consciousness, older pockets of consciousness that has been collectively created through my culture, through religion, through family dynamics, through lineage, or whatever it may be. Okay, but then it doesn't stop there, because we also have the capacity or the capability, or what we experience is that we're also bound to all the rules and game plan. Like, we look at it, well, this is the way of life, including education and everything else. That was created all within this, that is part of the old, and say, well, do I give power to that? Because a lot of people say we want to create a new world, but then they hold on to the old world. The old rules, the old ideas, the old perceptions, the old way of experiencing life. So it's a choice you make. Do I give power to all of this, or do I move through it? Because really, you really have the power, the capability to choose it. So you can have the choice of saying, I'm going to give my power away, or give my designing to someone else, or to a group, to an idea, and that's okay. But, more of us are feeling that, something, I'm taking that back, and I'm going to decide right now how I want to create my life moving forward. And the other thing is, too, many of us are experiencing a lot of emotional stuff coming up, a lot of stories coming up in programs. The reason all of that is coming up, and I know I've talked about it before, is really just to look at, a lot of the, stories, belief, labels, and old aspects of ourselves that are coming up, so that we can just revisit it, appreciate it, because we don't want to look at any part of our experience as good, bad, right, wrong. We want to see it as all perfection, and then it's easy to move through it. And I will cover a little bit more of it in the workshop. Now, when it comes to the fear, as I was saying before, this is, again, something that we've used in this part of the experience, and which is the tool of the ego, but we have the freedom to step out of it, because it's not natural. It's not something that we have to give power back. Give power to navigate or control or choose or be part of the choices that we make. Because the thing is, fear may have served up to this point in time, but now we're at a point where it doesn't really fit in to what we are emerging from, or to, or whatever you want to call it, because we're emerging into the whole experience. So that part of us is no longer. So the fear part is the process that we will look at to let go of. And then, when we're looking at our experience of life, we also have the opportunity And this is the thing, we're starting to realize it, and more people are experiencing it. I'm not saying everybody, because not even close to even a small percentage of it, but there are a percentage of people that are taking the opportunity to look at their lives, look at whatever is playing out around them, including what's happening right now, to step back and look at it and say, okay, let me look at it from a higher perspective. Let me look at it in a more playful perspective. Because when you look at it, I've done this myself over and over again, because at times I look at what's happening right now, all the different narratives and all the different stuff that's being pumped out there as what's happening or whatever it is. It just brings you to a point where you look back and say, wow, this is quite a show going on. Not that there's, anything right, wrong, good about it, but it's very interesting when you look at it. You're stepping back and you're looking at it from a playful aspect and say, wow, this is a pretty interesting dance that everybody's getting caught up in and playing with it. It's really being accentuated as something very powerful in a very powerful way, so that we, are able to see things that we haven't been seeing. Because a lot of times what happens is we have the elephant in the room. And until the elephant swaps you in the face or knocks you down, or that we bump into it in such a big way that we don't notice it, because we're so busy with everything else, we don't see what's right in front of us. So it comes up, we get to see it, and then we can step back and say, oh, that's interesting, we got an elephant in the room, we got this, whatever that may be. And then you have the choice to say, okay, how do I want to see this? Great. Do I play with the elephant? Do I do what with it? Or, whatever. So these are some of the things that, we also give ourselves the opportunity to be able to look at all of that and really step into the fact of saying, okay, I am choosing at this point to look at this in a completely different way. Because look at it. How many things that we've gone through that seems extremely traumatic, extremely intense, extremely painful. Once we get a certain clarity and we start looking at it from a different viewpoint, it changes that completely, or in many ways, in huge ways where you don't see it the same way any longer. It doesn't even have the same emotional charge. It doesn't have the same impact as you had before. So many of us have had very traumatic experiences in our lives, and then when we've stepped back or we looked at it later, we saw that, wow, I really got caught up in there, and I really made that a bigger case than it really was. And that ends up serving us in a way so that we can actually now say, okay, I can see this. Now I'm going to be a little bit more attentive to pay attention, so that instead of jumping in that easily as before, which may have served, but now I'm going to always step back. So as soon as something is going on, I'm going to step back, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to say, okay, how is this serving me? What is it doing for me? How can I utilize this whole experience? By just doing that, by just stepping back into that observation point. So this is why I've talked about it many, many times. Being an observer is very powerful, because when you go into observer state, you're really stepping back, and as you pull out as an observer, go into the observer state, you're actually pulling out of the ego's construct more, so that you are able to see things more clearly. And at that point, your viewpoint changes. So now you're looking at it and say, this is interesting. So it's like you stepping, back, like you're at a movie theater, and now you're watching it on the screen. And that, at times, you're able to watch it from a higher perspective, because you're not in the screen. You're stepping back. You can see yourself there, but you're stepping back as the observer. So the key is, when you're looking at it as an observer, you now could see more of the scenery of what's playing out, rather than what you're experiencing or have been experiencing, where it becomes very limited in what's going on. So by stepping back, you see the bigger picture, and then you can navigate a little easier with the bigger picture. You can even see the programs more easily coming up and whatever else, so you can have a choice. How do I want to give power to it, or how do I want to shift it? And the shifting is very easy once we don't get caught up in it, but it's just a matter of observing it. acknowledging its presence, appreciating its presence, because you have to appreciate every part of it, because everything was a beautiful creation. I know sometimes that could mess up your mind, because the ego mind saying, what do you mean beautiful? How could that possibly be? Look at what happened to us. Look at where we are because of what happened to us, or anything of that nature. But when we're looking at it, stepping back, and you're really looking at it from a different perspective, you see this whole appreciation of, wow, that was amazing. That was really super amazing what we experienced, what that dance was all about. And then it changes the whole polarized, intense web that we've got caught up in before to experience, which was good, but now we're not. So when we look at it from that perspective, we're stepping back and we have that appreciation. It changes the heaviness, it changes the intensity, and you see it now as a movie, a play that has occurred. And then by loving it because of what it provided for you in a very genuine way, you're able to let it go much with ease, without getting caught up in any of it. It's just releasing it, letting it go with love, with appreciation, because it was part of your journey. It's like anything that we've had in our lives. We've gone through different stages of our lives. We've liked certain things, and then it didn't resonate with us, and we let it go. We can't look at our life and say, oh, it was horrible being a child. I used to be in diapers, and I had to be breastfed, or I had to drink from the bottle, and I used to do my stuff in my diaper and whatever else, and that, I fell a lot of times, and I didn't know how to do this or that. You're not going to look at that and say, well, what a failure I was. No, you're going to look at that, wow, those are different stages. I got to experience a lot of different aspects of myself at that point in time. So all of that was just an absolute perfection of it. And that's how it is with any part of our lives. It doesn't matter whatever we went through, we see it as that way. So that's why we acknowledge that it was there. We're not going to deny it. We're not going to criticize it, judge it, or anything else. We're going to acknowledge it. It was cool. You're not going to judge yourself about it, because that's only ego wanting to judge to keep you stuck. So you're going to appreciate it. Tremendous appreciation for what's provided, tremendous love for it, and then you let it free. You're just relieving it from that role, that part of you, because you no longer require it. And in that way, you can quieten the mind. Every time you do that, the ego mind can't come in all the time and just keep. Because as you step back as the observer and you're looking at it, each time it says something, you go, oh, really interesting. Yeah, I like that. Not in a judgmental way or right, wrong, good way about it. It's just, yeah, that's a very interesting point of view. However, I'm choosing not to support that point of view any longer. I'm choosing not to play there in that same way as I used to. So you quieten the mind by each and every time, not giving it the power. So each time it just gets quieter. So many of you have experienced, by not fighting and wrestling with the ego, and by acknowledging that it's what it's giving you and saying, well, I'm not interested in playing there, not because it's judgmental, but because it's no longer serving you. And the more you do that, it gets quieter and quieter. And it takes some time because of that. But the way we are being supported right now, you can do it a lot faster than we could ever before. The other thing that's also beneficial for us is going out in nature, connecting with nature, and really using nature to support, because, it supports organic 3D and organic 5D very powerfully for us. And it connects us through the body, because what happens is when we're connecting with nature, okay, it moves through the body. The body moves through the human entity and the soul and creates this beautiful upgrade on all aspects of yourself. So nature becomes very supportive. And that's why a lot of people say, yeah, spend some time in nature, walk around, go and hug a tree or be in the environment, because it really emanates a very powerful energy, but it also represents calmness, peacefulness, very present. You don't see nature not present. Nature's present. We're the only ones that get caught up in our mind, mainly ego mind, that we are never present. Because it's really, really powerful to be present, because in presence, you're fully there. And if you're fully there, then you can experience every part. You get to see and learn a lot more, so you don't have to replicate it. You don't have to extend it. So an experience becomes more, holistic when you're present, when you're there. So that's what nature does, not only supports you energetically and in codes and so forth, it actually supports you in the sense of that presence, being present. And if you walk and spend time in nature and you find yourself present in there, it reminds you that very powerfully. And then the other part of nature is being, being exposed to the sun, and the sun will shine very high powered frequencies and energies that support you in a very powerful way to help do the body reconstruct within, so that we are shifting more and more from the carbonic to the silicate to crystalline, because these it's what it's doing. And all of those stages carry more consciousness, more energy, and it becomes more of a lighter body, like it was said before. Okay. So the other thing that comes in very instrumental for us is really to design our lives utilizing every part of it. So basically, people talk about connecting with our heart. Well, when you're connecting with your heart, you're connecting with your soul. You're connecting with that higher aspect of yourself. But you also can connect with your human entity, which also carries a certain level of higher self. And then you can connect with the body. With the body also has consciousness that is advancing also. So by really doing that so you're basically designing most of it through this, rather than utilizing this, because most people have been designing all their life based on ego and older stories and labels and so forth. And that's what we're transitioning from. And of course, as we activate our DNA, that also will facilitate, and we'll cover more of that in the upcoming workshop, which will be about a week from today. And we'll give you some more details going along. But at the same time, we will be doing a process to activate the DNAs a little bit more. And of course, which ones and how it gets activated and so forth will depend on where you're ready for. And even though we stimulate it, they will come online more and more along the way to benefit. So the thing is, also we'll be doing processes where we are going to be connecting with the organic matrix. Now, I talked about the inverted matrix, and I've talked about the inverted matrix for quite some time. But I also talked about, and I'm running out of space, so I'm going to have to clean some of the stuff out of the way. Or let me see if I can put it on here. We have what we call the organic matrix. Now, for anyone that hasn't been exposed to it, the organic matrix is the original matrix that was designed for planet Earth for us to utilize in our human body, and which we did experience for 5,000 years, and then the inverted matrix was put in where everything was backwards. So we'll be doing processes to connect with the inverted matrix. With the organic matrix. And the organic matrix has constantly been upgrading because it's always been online, where inverted matrix has been offline, and it's been, sort of a limited program which designed everything. So a matrix, a lot of people say we got to drop the matrix. What we're looking at is really dropping the inverted matrix, because a matrix is required. A matrix, every planet has a matrix. Every matrix creates a consistency of how we experience. So we could see ourselves in a body in the way that we are able to see it. We see the planet because of the matrix, because the matrix is a very complex operating system that allows us to experience ourselves in a physicality and within a playground which in this particular playground we call Earth. So that's what we're doing. And then we'll also be talking about communicating with fifth dimensional perspective. Because again, even though you may have chosen to that, you can bring different perspectives into your communication. So we'll be doing a process to communicate with from a fifth dimensional process, perspective, and an organic 3D perspective too, because both of them are much more advanced than anything that we've experienced up to now when we were playing this particular game. We're also going to be talking about tuning in and nurturing our relationship with our body, because many of us don't have a very good relationship with our bodies. And, we see the body and then we judge it. We have judged every part of our body. We're always looking for faults. And again, the faults, where's it coming from? It's all perception. It's all ego perception and all collective perception. Because we chose the body that we're in. We're utilizing the body that we're in. But at this point, it's not there to see that it's a good body, bad body, whatever it is, because it doesn't matter what's ever going through it. So it's really establishing a much more powerful, connected relationship with our body. And when we do that, then the dance of life becomes much more at ease. We've talked about everything to bring us into a state of ease, but we also have to have that really strong relationship with our body, because the body's always communicating. The body is not just a body; it has innate consciousness in it. The body's been evolving, and it's really an extension, like I said, of Gaia, which is really a fifth dimensional consciousness state. And that's what it's meant. So it's really establishing great communication with the body. You're establishing a good communication with the human entity and your soul, your higher self, the part of you that, what do you call it? The part of you that is multidimensional, the part that comes into physical form from different dimensional states that have had various different life streams from different planets and different densities and consciousnesses and so forth. This is the multidimensional part of it. This is the part that is more home body, what we call from planet Earth. The body is also from an extension from Gaia. All of this makes this whole unit, because the only reason all of that exists is to create this very unique opportunity to be on the planet at this point. So what we're looking at changing the aspect of how we've played the game of life, and that's what we're doing. And we've chosen to do this now, even though some of us have started quite some time ago, but it's been moving forward in a very big, powerful way. And now it's becoming more and more apparent and more part of our reference point of saying, okay, I choose to expedite this transformation that we're going through. So we're going to co-create a beautiful environment that gives us the opportunity to shake up our old world, to shake up the old version of us, to shake up all of this stuff so we can actually go into our more natural state and to play life completely different. So the choice, the question you have, are you ready to play life in a different way? That's yours to choose. So we've shared quite a bit today with whatever, we've talked about all the different stages. We have the workshop that's coming up on the 28th of March, which is 1 week from today. Depending on when you're watching the replays, it could be less time, of course. You have the opportunity to join us at the workshop, where we actually will cover a little bit more details of what we've covered, but we're actually going to be doing step-by-step process. We're going to be holding your hand as we're going through the different processes of letting certain things go, to activate certain parts of it. And many of the things that we've talked about at this point in time, including activation of DNA, that will be a process of there, connecting with nature and using those upgrades, because we'll do processes and meditations and so forth around that. We're going to take a look at some of the obstacles we've dealt with, how to play with all of that is playing out, shifting restrictions and fears and so forth, going through the process of letting ourselves to be more present, letting go of judgment, letting go of labels, letting go of all of that stuff, and be able to kind of go into living moment by moment as a new true designer that you are. And then even looking at the different things about dropping victimhood and so forth. So it's a very comprehensive. It's from 11 a.m. in the morning Eastern time, and it will go to 5:30, 6 o'clock. Sometimes it goes a little later, but we're trying to stay within that realm or that time frame. And we'll have some breaks in between, so we'll have a couple of 15-minute breaks and a half an hour lunch break or break period for whatever, depending on where you are. So it will be live stream, it will be interactive, and it will be available for you. So in the description, and Kimberly will also add into the comment the links for you to be able to register for the live stream. And with the live stream, you will also get a complete set of the video and audio for you to go back and refer it, and not only back, but also to utilize the processes. Because going through it once will create a powerful change, but each time you do it, it does more and more. And some of us are really ingrained with a lot of stuff that we've played in, and we're going to require to repeat it. So you will get a set of video and audio recordings that you can play and utilize to assist you to move forward. The whole workshop is designed to bring us to the next level. If you can't join us next Saturday, you can't make the time for it, You can also, there will be the link for you to be able to purchase the video and audio recordings only. It will be the same what everybody else gets. It just won't be as interactive for you because of the fact that you're not participating in the sense while it's happening, but everything is locked into the video and audio recordings, energetics, and everything else, so it will be pretty powerful in itself. We have had these workshops before. This one, each one is new, and it just grows on the next. We do have also in the description also that we have other workshops that we've already done that kind of prepared us for this stage. So if you feel that you want to go back to some of them, because it's very helpful, because a lot of people that have gone through each one has brought them to the next level. You can do that later too, but each workshop is very cost effective. We made it that way for the amount of content that you get and the amount of time and hand holding that you get. It's extremely inexpensive. And we made it that way not to limit people to have access to it, so that you can utilize it. So take this opportunity for you to really look at it. If you're watching this after the 28th, no problem. You can always still get the video and audio recordings and be able to utilize the workshop's content and all the processes that are going, you will have at your disposal. What else was there? Is there anything else, Kimberly, that I need to cover? Because, I mean, a lot of us are getting a call within, and right now, I mean, doing this workshop, we intended to do it a week ago. We actually intended to do it at one point this week, being today, but it got moved to the 28th because it required us to go through the stages that came about right now, because it's really setting us up and getting us ready for it. So this is why it kept getting moved, because at first it was like, it seemed like that was a great date from a month ago, and then it moved to the 21st and then the 28th. See, the thing is, we're co-creating this. It's not, like as much as, we are doing a lot of the work to prepare all of this, but we're using it together as a co-creation to be able to plug in exactly what would serve us, when it serves us, and so forth. So it was about that. So if you're really ready to embrace your new self, your new you, and embracing the new world that we have at our disposal, and really play the game in a completely different way, and to really feel a complete alignment, then this is your opportunity. And utilize this to the max, because it's there for you. All of it is there for you and us, because we're all involved. We're all involved in all of this. And this journey forward is something that's very powerful for us to utilize. So, Kimberly, is there any questions that are pressing around that?
No.
Go ahead. Click here.
Just going to let people know it isn't going to be on Zoom. It is only going to be on Vimeo.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And then they can get the recordings afterwards if they join up live, or they can just purchase the recordings and they'll get sent out once it's been all packaged up.
Yes. So we've decided to go fully 100% Vimeo, so that we will only have one platform. That way, to keep it a little more simple, because Zoom does also require you to have a software program put onto your computer or phone or whatever you're going to use to watch it with, or tablet. So we decided to go Vimeo, but the other benefit about the Vimeo is that after it's done, a copy will be available without any trimming from start to finish, will be available shortly after, within probably an hour or so later. It will be completely available. So if you want to repeat it, or if you missed any part of it, you can go back and look at all of that. So you will have one full stream that will be possibly 7 hours long, that you can fast forward and move along the way to watch it. So, because in the past what's happening, it usually takes us several days, sometimes up to a week, to get everything packaged. So this will be available right away. However, what I will do after it's all done, I will still take all the recordings And I'm going to chop it up and label them so that you can see the different things, the topics that we've covered, so that you can go always back and see the ones that you want to see when you want to see it or when you want to re-experience it. Including all the meditations, activations, and processes. Each one will be separate. So in usually a 1 day event of this nature could have up to 20 or so different separate recording. And then if there's lots of questions, it could be more because then we break up the questions and so forth. But the beauty of this whole Vimeo, the quality is we can stream at a higher quality. We'll be able to have access to it shortly afterwards if you want to repeat any part of it or review any part of it. And then the package will be sent out for you once it is done. So go ahead.
Harry's saying Vimeo doesn't have Chromecast compatibility if it has a password. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, not sure about that, Harry.
Yeah, because I think you can, well, normally Vimeo, you can see it on different platforms. Yeah, I don't know about Chromecast. We'll have to get some techie person to look at this and let me know. But I know it works on Explorer, Safari, it works on Firefox. I thought it worked on Chrome too, but maybe that particular version doesn't. I don't know. It's something worth checking. We do have lots of videos on Vimeo right now if you want to check it out, because you can go there and just look at Advancing Consciousness series under Vimeo, and you can see if it works on your platform. If not, then we'll have to see how we can do that.
Chayton says he just sent a text saying, yes, that's true. I guess that's true that it doesn't have compatibility on Chromecast.
Okay.
Yeah, it does on all the other ones, correct?
Oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
you're saying that, right?
As far as I know, yes. That's the first time I've heard that it doesn't work on that. I mean, I don't know if we can stream on YouTube on a private page for the people that can't have access to Vimeo. I will check into that. Maybe we'll have the option, and we'll let you know once you've
But
read.
if anybody who just has only that option, they just contact us directly at info@franco-de-nicola, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Okay. Because I'll look at see if we could also stream at the same time through YouTube, through a private channel, and we'll give you the password and whatever else at that point to be able to get on if Vimeo doesn't work for Chromecast. Yeah, so I look forward to have you guys join us for next Saturday, the 28th of March, for us to do the workshop. And it's very supportive for us to move forward. And what better time than now? I mean, there's so much going on at this point in time that it'll be a very powerful tool, because it does. And most of the people that have gone through any of the workshops always finds a huge support and transformation for them. And saying all of that, we will have further episodes. The next episode is this coming Tuesday, and the episode after that will be the coming Thursday of next week. So next Tuesday and Thursday we'll have episode 12 and episode 13, and then the workshop on Saturday. So the episode that we normally have on Saturday, we will not have, because we're going to have the workshop and so forth. Okay, great. I look forward you guys all to join us. Thank you for being part of all of this beautiful journey and playfulness that we've experienced today. And hopefully that everything that was shared is going to help you even further to deeper understand and to navigate through all the things that are playing out right now. Because we've come here to play. We got to remind ourselves we're here to play. We're here to experience life. There's no right or wrong, good or bad about any part of the experience. Because as long as we label it, it gets sticky. As long as we label it, it becomes harder to move through it. So the thing is, see that it's a dance, it's a play, then we can move through things with ease. Because, I mean, I like to play with ease. All of us like to play with ease. We've already had the polarity part of the intensities and hardships and all of that stuff, but we're not there anymore. Correct? You ready to do that?
Yes.
All right. I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Yes. We're
All right.
ready. Ready to rock and roll here.
Perfect. Perfect. So until next time, have fun, and we'll see you on Tuesday.